That was certainly a five-course performance from Kashik Saikmar. Let's take it to the tail of the tape for our next bout. This one takes place at a catch weight of 185 pounds between James Neville and Adrian Soto-Perez. James Neville 1-3, Soto-Perez making the pro debut. 5 years separate these gentlemen, with Neville being 32 and Soto-Perez at 27. 2 inches in height for James Neville. Neville came in at 190.6 pounds. Adrian Soto-Perez at 187.8. This is a catch weight at 190 pounds. We send it inside to Shane Graham to bring these gladiators into the octagon.
Please welcome to the cage our next fighter, coming to us by way of the blue corner, Adrian Soto-Perez.
It is long awaited for El Salvaje, Adrian Soto-Perez. The professional debut follows a decorated amateur career. 7-time Spartica Fight League veteran, the former lightweight champ, defended at one time. Was supposed to fight Pete Keepers at APFC 3. Here he is in APFC 6, Richmond, Virginia, making the debut following a 3-fight win streak to conclude his amateur career.
Finally made it, man. I remember seeing him yesterday at the weigh-ins. He seems to be a very motivated and intense fighter, and I think he's going to go out there and look, to win this in a dramatic fashion.
9th-ranked amateur middleweight in the U.S. Southeast. That sample size is out of 451 athletes. This guy's skill level is incredibly high at just 28 years young. He's been an elite wrestler since 14 years old, state champ in high school, and then Division I in college. His high school record, 190-23. And talking about what the expectation is from his opponent, he said that, James Neville isn't a freak athlete, isn't a world champion, and I believe I'm going to get a first-round finish.
Hey, that's a lot to live up to. You put it out there, you put it out there, you got to live up to it. But no, I think, from what I hear about him and the intensity that he brings, he definitely has some of the attributes to make that happen. But I definitely don't think his opponent is a walkover.
El Salvaje, Adrian Soto-Perez, for the first time as a professional at APFC 6 here in Richmond.
Please welcome his opponent, coming to us by way of the red corner, James Neville.
With 10 finishes in his pro and amateur career combined, there are few people who are as dangerous as the former 4-time CZ MMA light heavyweight and middleweight champion. Heavily accoladed pro career, James has struggled to find the footing as a professional, but assured us that a second-round stoppage is in the works for tonight's bout. His MMA interest began in pro wrestling. We will await some showmanship from Netflix and Kill Neville here tonight.
Either these guys are extremely confident in their skills and ability, or they just don't want to go 3 rounds. We got a first-round prediction, we got a second-round prediction. Nobody thinks this is going to go to the limit. I think, much like his opponent, Neville also has the attributes to end this fight, but let alone the experience. So let's see how that experience plays a factor for him in this fight.
Born January 16th, 1991, fighting out of Richmond, Virginia, representing the MMA Institute. Head coach there, Rick McCoy, has brought so many amazing athletes to the APFC banner. They've had a lot of success here today. That continues potentially with James Netflix Neville. When we asked about the nickname, we were like, this is an interesting one. It is very unique and fitting, and he said, just came to me.
Just came to him and said he would just chill around watching Netflix, and they just gave him the name. I mean, I thought for sure there had to be some type of story behind it, perhaps a Netflix and chill following. I'm like, there's got to be more to it, but no.
James Netflix Neville in the APFC octagon. We set it inside to Shane Graham to get this catchweight bout underway.
Ladies and gentlemen, this fight is 3 5-minute rounds, a catchweight bout contested in the APFC middleweight division. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, a mixed martial artist standing at 5 feet 10 inches tall. He weighed in at 187.8 pounds, and tonight he makes his professional mixed martial arts debut, fighting out of Durham, North Carolina. Here is El Salvaje, Adrian Soto-Perez. And his opponent fighting across the cage out of the red corner, a mixed martial artist standing at 6 feet tall. He weighed in at 190.6 pounds. His professional record is 1 win with 3 defeats. Fighting out of Richmond, Virginia, here is James Netflix Neville. And when the action begins, our referee in charge, Angel Ortiz.
3 5-minute rounds between El Salvaje, Adrian Soto-Perez, and James Netflix Neville. Again, David, we've talked about it extensively during these gentlemen's walkouts. I don't believe the judges will be needed.
No,
Fight
no
ready.
third round.
Fight!
First or second only.
In case you needed the translation, El Salvaje is the savage. Expecting some
Spanish here. Almost a 5-point throw there for a second.
ground and pound from Soto-Perez. Rounds between El Salvaje, Adrian Soto-Perez, and James Netflix Neville. Again, David, we've talked about it extensively during these gentlemen's walkouts. I don't believe the judges will be needed.
No,
Fight
no
ready.
third round.
Fight!
First or second only.
In case you needed the translation, El Salvaje is the savage. Expecting some
Spanish here. Almost a 5-point throw there for a second.
ground and pound from Soto-Perez. James Neville having his back taken, but pretty wise defense here.
Soto-Perez wasting no time getting after it, coming out, big slam, takes his opponent's back, and lands some leather
That was
coming
a
from the top.
big knee to the midsection. Can't imagine that those feel good. In just 30 seconds, Soto-Perez has handed a barrage of strikes to James Neville. Neville trying his best to get out of this.
Neville just not really able to get his faculties in check. I mean, Soto-Perez just put such a pace on him from literally the first second of the fight, and he's not letting up.
James Neville with a moment of reprieve here, trying to get his wits about him. Soto-Perez with the red, white, and blue trunks. Neville with the black and red.
Beautiful double leg there by Soto-Perez. Changes levels, get right to the legs. Finishes and whips the legs out so he can land in an advantageous position, such a side guard as he is now.
Fighting since October 2017, Adrian Soto-Perez has simply leveled up in every single performance. Here he is, David, in full mount.
Good position here by Soto-Perez. I mean, look for him to just look to be violent and just land damaging blows, as he has been doing it every time he's gotten on top of his opponent so far.
What do you think about the adjustments that James Neville needs to make? What can he
Stiff
do
right
here?
hand by Soto-Perez. I mean, it's kind of hard to make an adjustment when you have someone putting you through the ringer like this. It's not that Neville is doing anything wrong, so to speak. It's just Soto-Perez is getting off first, and he hasn't let up. So he has to put his opponent in some type of danger. I don't know how good Neville is off of his back, perhaps.
Big right hands from Soto-Perez. Now a
Beautiful
knee. Adrian Soto-Perez trying to pound out James Neville.
Beautiful knees to the body, elbows. Soto-Perez is just getting ugly in there.
Wow.
And just testing the will of Neville. Neville staying in there, but I don't know how much more of this he can take, Ben.
He is intelligently defending himself somewhat, but Adrian Perez just jumped right in, now elbowing the sides. The question is, how much can James Neville take? 2 minutes and 30 seconds remain.
You see the ref getting closer and closer to the action that usually indicates that he's thinking about stepping in at some point.
Adrian Perez with a front head choke, potentially walking that deep into the guard of Neville.
Will he get the choke from the like a half here?
Some sort of modified guillotine that Soto-Perez is working on. 2 minutes remain in round number 1. This has got to feel like a week of time's worth for James Neville in there.
Neville got through the fire. He's back on his feet now.
Again, James Neville, a former 2-time Cagezilla light heavyweight champion, 2-time middleweight champion, also the former Fire and Ice middleweight champion. He's got that championship spirit inside of him.
But Soto-Perez has that savage mentality and is just marching forward and chasing Neville down to this point.
He has been the beast incarnate, is Adrian Soto-Perez. Kind of expected from a guy who's calling himself El Salvaje.
El Salvaje. El Salvaje, I like it.
Neville defends that hook attempt nicely, but still just trying to survive here.
Very much so. I mean, he's doing just that. I mean, for a minute, it looked like this fight was almost over, if you ask me. He's still in there. I mean, not necessarily doing anything wrong, but it's just Soto-Perez, the mentality that he came into this fight. He came into this fight with the intention to end Neville, and Neville's just taking it.
James Neville, really labored movement on the feet. Soto-Perez back in on the entry. Neville with a good defense right here so far. Disengage, clinching up. 35 seconds remain in round number 1. Can James Neville survive to the second round and maybe recuperate, David?
He's doing a good job of just gripping his opponent up, tying him up, keeping his arms busy so they can't land punches on him. I think for the next 20 seconds, that needs to be his approach, is to just stay safe and then look to make the adjustments on the stool.
15 seconds left. James Neville separates from Soto-Perez. This first round was brought to you by Third Coast T-shirts. If you need some outerwear, no better spot than Third Coast.
Beautiful slip and rip there by Soto-Perez. Flips the shot coming in, throws the 2-3 going right back. Make them miss, make them pay, as they say, Ben.
James Neville got all he could handle and more in that first set of 5 minutes, but maybe the question of the cardio of Adrian Soto-Perez becomes the topic of conversation, because he put a lot into trying to finish Netflix.
He put a lot of work in. He expended a lot of energy, you know, inflicting damage on his opponent. Let's see how that fares for him in the next 10 minutes here.
Let's take it to the highlights of round number 1 between Adrian Soto-Perez and James Neville.
Here we go, big dump there by Soto-Perez, and then almost immediately just goes to attacking his opponent, just landing heavy shots there from the back, doing a great job isolating wrist control on the opposite side. It's those little nuances like that that allow him to stay on top for as long as he did. Beautiful double leg. You said beast incarnate. Word to Brock Lesnar with that double leg as he just landed there into a nice side guard half position. And just the story of this one is just damage, damage, damage. Heavy strikes, heavy hands, heavy knees everywhere from Soto-Perez.
Let's go!
He was just relentless, Ben.
James Neville showing all the toughness that you want in a champion. Here he comes, winging the hands out. Goes in for his own takedown entry.
Now, as we saw, you question cardio. Notice Soto-Perez's first steps were backwards. We hadn't seen that yet. Looked like he was looking for some space, and now Neville's coming in, has his opponents back against the cage with the underhook, and let's see him go to work.
Like the Netflix name would imply, it's hard to shut him off. James Neville.
Are you still watching, Ben? As they said.
Gets a takedown of his own. Netflix trying to find the back, but Soto-Perez elevates the larger man.
Neville didn't quite secure that takedown, which created a scramble opportunity there for Soto-Perez. And Soto-Perez is where he wants to be, on top, pressuring forward, head position, hips up, and just making it an ugly fight here for Neville. But we saw a flash of greatness there for Neville. Maybe he can get back to it.
Adrian Soto-Perez working on that wrist control, that right hand clamping down.
Isolating that wrist. It's going to keep Neville down, and then he slides in the boot on the opposite side. That's a good position there for Soto-Perez.
And this gives Adrian Soto-Perez all the time in the world to recover, relax, and a moment of rest while he's just riding the back of James Neville.
Well, he can't rest too much. I mean, you can recover and you can relax, but you still have to apply pressure. If you don't apply pressure, Neville's going to do exactly what he did. Almost countered him, but now he's back on his feet.
Soto-Perez looking a bit labored here. Can James Neville capitalize? 3:20 left in round number 2. Oh!
Big shot there by Soto-Perez.
Down goes Neville!
And the ref steps in. I think Neville's out.
Netflix has been shut off here in the Greater Richmond Convention Center. Adrian Soto-Perez with a second round finish.
5 minutes, right?
Potentially.
All right.
They might be thinking
was there a foul?
Here's
Goes
Anthony
down.
Pettis'
Butt.
reaction.
He
Some
threw
clear
it into his head,
confusion
okay?
from
Can't
the
keep
gang
doing that, boss. You
ringside.
understand me? Gotta take a point. You understand?
Anthony and
Give me one
Sergio,
more
the
on the
brothers
inside. You understand that?
dynasty here, watching the fights. I mean,
Oh.
who else to fight? Oh my gosh, is the ref taking? Is that a foul?
Illegal.
A possible knee?
Possible illegal knee, I imagine, is what the
Can't take
referee's
the
eyes were
shots
seeing. If we
in
could
the
get a
head.
replay, that'd be great. But Netflix taking some serious damage in that spot. Soto-Perez gets a point taken. We'll see how James Neville recovers from this.
We're going
David
to get a
Evans, walk me through
replay
it.
here from the truck. Soto-Perez. Oh, but was he down? I don't think he was down.
It depends on how you define
His
it.
hands were not down. His knees were not down. He was squatted down. I don't think either his hands aren't down, his knees weren't down. Was his butt down? I mean, that may not have been a foul. I mean, that's going to be up to the refs. I don't know.
Referee
That's going to be up to the
touring
ref.
around
That's
the
going to be.
octagon. We've got the ringside doctor coming in to check on James. Netflix Neville. Illegal knee has been the official call here tonight in Richmond. Adrian Soto-Perez also getting some time to recover.
And that's going to come down to a rule interpretation. I mean, that one was close. Initially, I was like, okay, Soto-Perez maybe got ahead of himself, you know, but that's a tough one for me to call there, Ben.
The question's going to be, can Neville continue? Because if he can't, then we would go to either a contest or the judging up until the point in the round.
I have my thoughts about that one. If you're on the receiving end of that one, maybe I just, maybe I sit down a little bit longer and see how it plays out. But yeah, it's going to come down to that. I don't think, just looking at Neville's posture, that he looks like he wants to continue.
He is responding well to the officiating individuals inside the octagon, so it seems like he is healthy and he's all good. So
yeah,
regardless of what happens here tonight, either way, James Neville does seem to have his wits about him, which is a positive takeaway.
The referee, the doctor, the trainer, they're in there having a nice, healthy conversation there with Neville, and I think ultimately it's going to come down, like you said, Ben, is do you want to continue? The will to continue.
And it would be a tall task for James Neville to...
If I'm a body language expert, I'm going to say it doesn't look positive.
I remember when you graduated from Georgetown University with the body language
Yes,
doctorate.
well, I got my PhD from Georgetown. I mean, you did your research, Ben. No, look at you, man. I'm educated, but I ain't that educated. However, I got some street smarts. I can read somebody from a mile away. And I'm about, 20 feet from Neville, and that's close enough for me to know that I don't think he wants to continue.
Shades of Anthony Lionheart-Smith accepting the call against John Jones following an illegal knee. Choosing to compete. We'll see what Neville's decision is. He is back on the feet.
I guess Netflix says, watch this. And the mouthpiece, is it going back in? It's going back in, Ben. I think he's going to continue.
James Neville really ringing the
Hands
dinner bell
up,
here.
ready to go. Well, guys, I'm going to have to publicly eat my words here tonight. I said on the broadcast I didn't think he was going to continue. I was wrong. James, you proved me wrong here tonight. That doesn't happen too often, so do something with it, please.
We are revoking your body language doctorate.
Yeah, guys, about that, it wasn't Georgetown. It was a town. It was George something. I just can't remember.
George in a town.
Yeah, George in a town somewhere. A guy named George actually gave me the certificate on the corner of something or another.
Ready?
Yeah.
Ready?
James,
Fight.
Netflix Neville, and Adrian Soto-Perez. 3 minutes remaining in round number 2. We'll see how recovered James Neville is. Big left hand over the top.
Neville coming out a little more aggressive now.
I like how he's flicking that lead hand, just trying to gauge range.
Maybe Soto-Perez just pressed his buttons there. He's just like, hey, you hit me in the face, I'm going to come get you.
And now here is an interesting situation for Netflix Neville. A point has been taken for Soto-Perez, so if James Neville wins this round, he's riding it around 3. Exactly.
We're back at 0.
Great takedown right there from Soto-Perez. James Neville trying to buck him off, but simply doesn't work.
Little veteran move there by Neville, just slapping the side of the ear of Soto-Perez. More annoying than anything, but noticeable nonetheless.
Sometimes that's the name of the game. Annoy, just combobulate, and just irritate.
I'll tell you what, Soto-Perez is definitely irritating Neville right now. Just the pressure and just smothering him and just landing shots on top. This is more like the fight has been so far for Soto-Perez.
Soto-Perez going back to that wrist lock on that far side again as well. How do you break that position?
Fighter's still down.
Really what you have to do is take your thumb to the sky and just kind of roll your hand out, and it becomes like a hand fighting battle over time.
Fighter's
Where the
still
person
down.
on bottom will usually roll their hands out, then you got to re-secure it. But I think Soto-Perez just has a strong grip, it seems, and Neville isn't really able to get free unless Soto-Perez goes and works somewhere else.
James Neville almost punches his way into that pummel. Now in an over-under position here. 90 seconds to go in round number 2. James Neville eats a big knee to the skull, but pressures forward. Really likes that left feint into the high kick.
Yes. He has to switch it up. I mean, he's been doing more of the same kind of 1-2 feint kick, 1-2 feint kick. I mean, it makes him easier to read. It makes it easy for Soto-Perez to time takedowns.
The Greater Richmond Convention Center is largely behind James Netflix Neville here tonight. Adrian Soto-Perez seems like he's more of an HBO guy.
That was a good one, man. You've been on fire tonight.
Oh, I'm cooking, baby. Oh, Netflix with a little bit of a spinning back fist modification and a knee up the middle. You can tell he's working. You know, I had some questions about whether or not that illegal knee really set him in a place where his mind just wasn't existing, but he is thinking like a mixed martial artist here.
Very much so,
in
trying
round
to find a way where there seems to be no way because Soto-Perez is not giving an inch here. But hey, Neville's in a good position, has Perez's back against the fence for once.
You know, and we talk about the force of nature that Adrian Soto-Perez was in round number 1. He has really taken the foot off the gas pedal in round number 2. In fact, James Neville has been leading a number of his own combinations. Big knee right there from Neville.
It's almost like once you get going and then you stop, it can freeze you out sometime, and it's hard to get going again. And it seems like that's what that break has done to Soto-Perez.
Especially when you think, I've won the fight, I've got my TKO, and then the officials say, oh, you're not done, buddy.
Yeah, it's like a roller coaster of emotions, and it gives you another adrenaline dump that you have to take care of. And then, as we see on the face of Soto-Perez, man, he's tired.
James Netflix Neville snatched from the jaws of defeat. Point taken, but we'll see. Again, who knows who won that second round, so it could be all even coming into the third, or could be one round up for Soto-Perez. Let's take it to some highlights from round number 2. David Evans, walk me through it.
That's going to be a hard one to score, but here we have Neville securing the takedown, which, you know, was definitely turning the tide of the fight. However, Soto-Perez got right back up and got right back to his game plan with a takedown of his own and kept marching forward. There was the knee, which they classified as illegal. However, you know, Neville decided, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to fight through it, and it worked out for him eventually.
And he ate another knee for his troubles.
And for his troubles, he came in, he ate another knee, but he keeps moving forward. 1-2 kick, 1-2 kick. Very hard round to score, but Ben, we're going to a third round.
We're going to a third, and I really don't think Adrian Soto-Perez expected to be here.
Neither one of these guys planned on a third round tonight, so hopefully we get something spectacular.
James Netflix Neville. Netflix and kill. Final 5 minutes between Adrian Soto-Perez and James Neville. Again, Soto-Perez, the body language, not great. Hands on the hips, sort of dawdling away from combinations in the pocket.
He put in a lot of work early on. He seems like one of those guys that only has one speed, though. He only knows how to go. The only thing is, can you sustain that throughout 15 minutes? And we're going to find out here tonight.
Neville marching across the octagon, trying to get his own grappling going. Maybe not the most advised strategy against a guy who's as skilled as Adrian Perez. I would have expected Neville to keep this one on the feet and really try and work that jab and that high kick.
Yeah, that's where Neville has the most real estate in the fight, so to speak. Soto-Perez doing what he does, getting right back to the shot, making it ugly, staying in his opponent's face. His hands are down. I hate him walking in with his hands down like that, but Neville hasn't really put him in any much danger on the feet, so he seems to be comfortable.
It's turning into a slugfest at 190. Catchweight bout with 4 minutes and 10 seconds to go in round number 3. Adrian Soto-Perez finds himself once again to the back, trying to put Neville down even further onto the canvas.
Yeah, I mean, this position here has really been where the fight has taken place here for Soto-Perez. Get the takedown, get to the back, do damage. Now what I've noticed is his strategy has changed.
Oh,
He's more so looking to control.
oh, Perez wobbles Neville with a crisp combination and resets to the center. James Netflix Neville not moving as well as he was at the beginning of round 3.
However, neither is Perez. You know, he's gotten the takedown. He's just looking to control and hold on. He came in like a bull in the china shop the first couple rounds. Speaking of bull in the china shop, there we go with that blast double leg by Soto-Perez.
Adrian Soto-Perez hooked him with that one. El Salvaje has taken some steam off of the shots midway through round number 3, but trying to maybe lock up some positional control around the neck, David.
Yep, once again, back to this famed position that he's been really making it his way in this fight.
Oh!
Sneaking that knee up the middle.
Netflix Neville stumbling, Neville down, El Salvaje trying to find the 3rd round stoppage.
That knee sits Neville down. That one was definitely legal.
I would assume so. Soto-Perez grimacing here. Neville still in this one, trying to fight his way back, but that's been the most significant moment so far.
Here we have Soto-Perez in the front headlock position, just kind of making Neville carry his weight here. Not doing much other than that. Maybe look for him to get on his toes and maybe take the back, hit the corner, take the back would be a wise decision from Soto-Perez, but I think he's a little bit labored himself.
Up goes James Neville. How is he still doing this? The zombie-like durability of Netflix Neville and a low blow.
Now we have another foul. I guess Neville says, I'm going to get one back for my troubles.
Coming up the side, okay?
James Neville standing. Seems like he's breathing well. Clarity in the eyes. I mean, that was a serious finishing sequence that, again, he persevered through.
Right?
I mean, this guy just, he could probably walk through a brick wall if he wanted to.
Legend has it that James Netflix Neville fell into a wood chipper when he was 3 years old. He was fine, the wood chipper broke. We'll take it to a quick replay of that low blow. David Evans, walk me through it.
Here we have it, both guys clenched up. Oh, I thought it was the knee at first, but it looked like as Neville threw the knee, he kind of flipped the lower half of his foot, and it caught Soto-Perez where he doesn't want to hit, where no one wants to be hit.
That one certainly tickled the downstairs. But credit to James Neville for still throwing these strikes and still being offensively in this so late into it after taking so much damage. You know, we had a lot of good things to say about the amateur career. Again, 10-2, 4-time regional champion. The pro career, he's had some staggering results, but one thing you can't question here, it's the heart, it's the durability, it's the will to win of James Netflix Neville.
Definitely, he's in there, and he's going to be a hard man to finish for anybody, I believe. He's taken a load of damage from Soto-Perez and seems to be unfazed.
In there like swimwear, talking about what to wear and attire, head over to Third Coast T-shirts to find some snazzy outfits. David, I think we could both use a bit of an upgrade when it comes to attire.
Are you able to go?
Ben, I don't know about you, Ben, but I do pretty well over here. But I'll still check out Third Coast, But, I take pride in my style. I have a reputation to uphold. But yeah,
you're a well-dressed man.
We could always do better.
There's room for improvement.
Let me humble we could always, as individuals,
hey, don't worry about nobody else.
Better. And I like the black on black with you, man. I mean, it's dominating, it's domineering. You just don't know what to expect. It's like, are you Men in Black? Or are you personable? Are you an agent? Who are you, Ben?
I don't know. I can't tell you that. Seems like Adrian Soto-Perez has recovered. Referee.
You good to go? You sure?
Wants this one to be
Go.
continued.
There's some complaining there. He gets 5 minutes. And whenever there's a foul, and I think he planned on taking every bit of that. However, we're back here and the action continues.
A rejuvenated James Netflix Neville, who is just somehow still in this one, and Adrian Soto-Perez, El Salvaje. Big connection.
Beautiful 2-3 there by Soto-Perez. Neville expected the shot, did a great job hip-heisting, getting Soto-Perez's back against the cage. Now he's on the offensive.
Every shot from Salvaje just tilts the skull of James Netflix Neville, but then he immediately shows defensive awareness, high IQ fighting ability. 1 minute 30 remains. if he puts on a strong final showing, who knows what the judges' scorecards will be.
Neville just plodding forward after every exchange, win or lose.
And a relentless dedication to posting and trying to work his way back to the feet. He has not accepted a single one of these positions, David.
No, Soto-Perez has definitely had to work and earn every position that he's gotten in this fight.
James Neville pops up, but he's got to be wary once again.
Let's
A
go,
shot
let's
to
go,
the
let's go.
cojones
Let's go,
on El
let's go.
Salvaje.
Let's
And
go.
the ref says continue. If he doesn't see it, he can't call it. And I don't think he wants to wait another 5 minutes.
James Neville going for the grappling, falls over. Bad move by him.
Soto-Perez grabbing the cage there. The ref didn't see it, but you know.
Feel like the striking just is the seemingly obvious route for Neville to go down, but he has persisted with the grappling and the takedown attempts.
I think it's more so he's adverse to taking damage. I mean, we've given him
That's
credit.
true.
We've given him credit for walking through it, but could you imagine being in that position? Like, hey, like he feels every shot, so he probably feels safer on the ground to just sit here and tie up his opponent's hands.
I'm convinced you could unload a, shotgun into him and he'd be completely
10
fine.
seconds.
You know,
Fighters up,
I don't
fighters
think
down,
he
fighters
has
up.
the will to quit in him at all.
I don't think he feels pain. I don't think that he has those receptors in his brain that acknowledge the pain. But either way, Neville and Soto-Perez find themselves headed to the judges' scorecards against all odds. I mean, this looked like it was done on 4 or 5 different occasions, but the judges get to decide the victor, David
We didn't
Evans.
get the first round finish. We didn't get the second round finish. We got 3 rounds of brutality from Soto-Perez and strength and will from Netflix Neville.
Let's take it to the 3rd round highlights between James Netflix Neville and Adrian Soto-Perez. David Evans, what are you seeing?
Here we go as far as highlights for this fight. Pretty much it was Soto-Perez just constantly marching forward, pressuring, throwing strikes, landing punches in bunches whenever he got in those dominant positions. Here we see the shot. The double leg was the name of the game for Soto-Perez. I mean, I can't tell you how many takedowns he landed here in this fight. Just throwing blast double legs, shooting blast doubles from anywhere.
Oh.
The knees, we saw one was a foul, but then he got that one back and landed a clean one and dropped Neville, which, I mean, we thought Neville was out of there. I think there were so many stanzas in this fight where we thought Neville was out of there, but Soto-Perez was forced to continue to fight and just give out and dish out punishment this entire fight.
A little bit of a bink downstairs, and again, like the knees and the shots up the center from James Neville, I just really didn't understand the insistence on grappling. It felt like that 3rd and final round, positionally, it just would have worked out better for him to stay standing. Every time he went and shot in on a takedown, Soto-Perez would either reverse the position or Neville would fall into a disadvantageous spot. The striking just was the obvious route, but James Netflix Neville doesn't take the obvious route.
I agree with you 100%. I don't think he wanted to take. I think he maybe was starting to hit his bandwidth when it comes to receiving damage, and he's just like, I just want to take the path of least resistance.
He might not know where he is right now. When we ask him at the Greater Richmond Convention Center, he'll say, I'm in Norfolk right now.
Then there's that.
Adrian Soto-Perez seemingly worse for wear despite offensively having a lot more success. Always interesting how that happens.
You know, he definitely got to work on that cardio. You know, if he was against, someone that was a little more offensive, he could have gotten some trouble in some spots in this fight, strictly due to his cardio, Ben.
Both fighters return to the center. We take it inside to veteran ring announcer Shane Graham to find out the winner between Adrian Soto-Perez and James Netflix Neville.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 hard-fought rounds of action, we go to the judges' scorecards for decision. All 3 judges score this contest the same, 29-27, declaring your winner by unanimous decision, El Salvaje, Adrian Soto-Perez.
Welcome to the professional winners column, El Salvaje, Adrian Soto-Perez. A clinic in the wrestling and dominance department. Really put it on with the striking as well. David Evans, walk me through this fight recap at the catchweight 190-pound affair.
Wrestling and dominance it was. Both of these guys came out expecting to finish. Soto-Perez just came out with an intensity that just wasn't matched. Beautiful takedowns, landing heavy leather right away, and was able to sustain that throughout the first and midway through the second rounds. Beautiful blast, double legs, just blasting right through James Neville, landing strikes, knees, punches, every second and every frame that he could. I mean, he dang near punched himself out in this fight. You know, but Neville, just being a zombie, took every bit of damage that Soto-Perez ditched out. And every time we thought he was finished, he said, don't call it a comeback. And he got into an advantageous position himself, and we just couldn't call this fight. This fight was a back and forth roller coaster. Beautiful, beautiful frames there by Soto-Perez, just enacting violence, brutality the whole way.
James Netflix Neville was unconscious after that follow-up shot in round 2.
I think James Netflix Neville is unconscious right now as we speak, as he's walking back to the backstage area. I think he's
The lights are on, but there's nobody home. Let's take it to the tail of the tape for our next bout.